The first turning point in my life came when I was just a baby. I was born in Egypt during a dark time for my people. The Israelites had lived there for centuries, skilled merchants, artisans, and traders, until one day, we were turned into slaves. As our population grew,
Chickens for sale,
ירקות טריים, בואו לקנות.
הביצים הטריות שלכם כאן. דחול הם חם. שקלים בודדים, בואו לקנות.
All of you kneel! The king is coming!
Pharaoh became fearful and ordered that every Hebrew baby boy be thrown into the Nile River to die.
Do not look at the contents.
Move faster! Get into the carts now!
Please, I can't.
What will they do to us? Get in the carts!
I'm afraid. Help me.
My mother, an Israelite slave, refused to obey such a cruel command. She hid me in silence for 3 months, until she could no longer conceal me. With love and courage, she placed me in a papyrus basket and set me adrift among the reeds along the Nile, near the royal palace. My sister, Miriam, quietly watched from a distance. Then a miracle happened. The Pharaoh's daughter, the princess, came down to the river to bathe with her attendants.
Beautifully this evening.
She noticed a basket among the reeds.
Hey, soldiers. Bring the box up to the reeds.
And ordered it to be brought to her. When she opened it, she saw me a crying baby. Her heart was moved with compassion, and she said,
This must be a Jewish child. Why is it here? Princess, do you want me to find a woman to raise this child?
All right. Find a woman to raise it for me.
Take this gift and take care of me. I will reward you in time.
And so, by the providence of the Lord, I was returned to my mother's arms, the woman who raised me with tears and faith.
Finest spices, straight from the harvest.
3 Deben for the pottery, that is...
Fresh greens. Best pots in the market. Come and get them before they are gone.
When I grew older, my mother brought me back to the royal palace.
By my decree, you may stay within the palace precincts and continue your studies.
The princess adopted me as her son and named me Moses, meaning I drew him out of the water. I was raised amidst Egypt's wealth, power, and wisdom, learning all the knowledge of Pharaoh's court. But I never forgot where I came from.
Get your fresh dates here.
Make way for the guards.
Hello, Mom. I'm here to see you.
By faith, when Moses had grown up, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to suffer with God's people rather than enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin.
Thank you, Moses.
One day, I saw an Egyptian taskmaster brutally beating a Hebrew until he was near death.
Hey! 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 This conflict ends now. Let him go, or face the consequences of defying the living God. You are just the princess pet, Moses.
I looked around, there was no one in sight, and in a flash of anger, I struck the man down and buried his body in the sand.
Get your fresh figs here, finest in the city.
Textiles from the Nile.
The next day, I was walking down the street and saw 2 Jews arguing.
I told you this would happen. You never listen.
It is not my fault. You brought this upon us.
Do not blame
I walked
me
up
for
and
your
said,
failures. Why do you Jesus ank your Brannan? Why do you strike your brother? Who made you judge us? Or do you intend to kill me as you killed that Egyptian?
At that moment, I knew my deed had been discovered. Pharaoh heard of it and ordered my execution. I fled Egypt, leaving behind everything: fame, power, and my past.
I'm sorry, Mom. This filial son can't take care of you.
It's okay, honey. Run and find the truth of your life. There's some money and some food in here. Take it and go.
Thank you, Mom. Let's go. Goodbye, Mom. Madam, may I ask, where is Moses?
It's searching for the truth of its life. Begging everyone to let it go.
Get in there, old woman! Move!
They were so cruel to
Secure the
capture
riverbank.
Moses' mother and lock her up and then burn her alive.
Fire! Help us! It's burning! You will pay for your actions!
Moses, ahead! There he is!
Everything was arranged by God. When the soldiers were chasing Moses in the water, suddenly the crocodiles appeared and stopped the soldiers.
They're pulling Manuda!
It was also thanks to faith and the miracle of God that Moses' life was saved. I journeyed eastward, across the Sinai Peninsula, until I reached the land of Midian, near the Gulf of Aqaba. Moses came to a small, poor village, and it seemed that this place had just gone through a war. There, at a well, I met the 7 daughters of Jethro, the priest of Midian. When shepherds drove them away, I stood up for them and helped water their flock.
Go! Leave now! How dare you harass these women! Stand back from the well!
Jethro heard what had happened, welcomed me into his home, and gave me his daughter Zipporah in marriage. We had a son, and I named him Gershom, meaning I have become a stranger in a foreign land. For 40 years, I lived as a shepherd, a prince turned humble wanderer in the desert. But now I understand it was God's school. I learned to lead, to protect, and to care for the flock skills I would one day need to guide God's people through the wilderness. I learned to read the land, find water, and survive in desolation.
We are saved!
And above all, I learned to listen to the voice of God in the silence. And then, that fateful day arrived. While tending the flock near Mount Horeb, also known as Mount Sinai, the highest region of the peninsula, I saw a bush engulfed in flames, yet it was not consumed. I said to myself, I will go over and see this strange sight. Why the bush burns, but does not burn up. Amid the whispering desert wind, the Lord called to me from within the burning bush.
Moses, Moses.
Lord, send...
Do not come near. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground.
At that moment, awe and amazement filled my heart. I knew I was in the presence.
Are you looking for me and need my help?
I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob.
He said that he had seen the suffering of his people in Egypt. He had heard their cries under tyranny.
Hurry with the water! The blocks are waiting! Move faster!
Faster! Keep the water moving up the ramp. Do not...
And he had come to rescue them, to take them to a large and fertile land, a land flowing with milk and honey.
Moses, I send you to Pharaoh to free the Israelites from Egypt.
Lord, how can I, a mere citizen, dare to go to Pharaoh and lead the Israelites out of Egypt?
my strength will be with you, and this will be the sign. When you lead the people out of Egypt, you will worship me on this very mountain.
If people ask me, what is your name? What should I say? I am the Eternal One. Tell them that I am has sent me to you.
That name Yahweh in Hebrew means the one who is, who was, and who always will be, the eternal, the faithful, the unchanging. A name that echoes through generations, like an undying light in the darkness of mankind. God gave me signs to prove His word. The staff in my hand would turn into a serpent. My hand would become leprous, then be healed again. And the waters of the Nile would turn into blood before Pharaoh's eyes. I was still afraid, still weak, but God promised to be with me. And from that moment on, my life was never the same. He sent me to stand before Pharaoh, the most powerful ruler in Egypt, to lead a nation of slaves into freedom.
Do not forget me. I must do this.
And to guide them through the harsh wilderness toward the promised land. It was a mission far beyond human strength, but with the Lord Almighty beside me, nothing was impossible. I left Horeb, the place of the burning bush that was not consumed, with the holy fire burning within my soul. The desert stretched endlessly before me, and in the dry whisper of the wind and sand, the voice of the Lord still echoed within. Go, I am sending you, and I will be with you. Day after day I walked alone, drenched in sweat, yet filled with faith. Then, at the foot of the mountain where the sunlight turned the sand to gold, I saw a figure in the distance approaching. My steps halted, that silhouette familiar, strong, deeply moving, and when the wind carried that voice to my ears,
Moses. My brother.
I looked up. It was Aaron, my elder brother, the one I thought I would never see again. He ran toward me across the vast desert, and as we embraced, the years of separation melted away. We were no longer two men, but two souls united by God for a divine purpose. We wept, not from sorrow, but because we knew the Almighty Himself had ordained this meeting. I told him about the burning bush, about the voice of the Eternal One, and that God had chosen us to free Israel from the chains of Egypt. Aaron stood silent for a moment, and then his eyes shone, like a flame of faith newly ignited.
No Pharaoh can stop his will.
We walked through the golden sands, two small men bowing before the Almighty God. The light of dawn covered the desert, and in that moment, I understood this meeting was not just of blood, but of divine purpose. From this day forward, Moses and Aaron would walk no longer alone. They were two torches lit by the hand of God, ready to shine their light into the darkness of Egypt, to reclaim freedom for His people.
My brother, how different Egypt is now.
King Pharaoh destroyed this place and made them build a tomb.
Please allow Mimi to enter before the king.
You two beggars also want to go inside the palace. Go away!
You come and say, we are sent here by God.
Ah, so you two were sent by God. Let him in.
Then, I went with Aaron to Pharaoh's palace, and the familiar scenes appeared in my eyes.
Tell me what the Lord has said to me.
God says, free the innocent people.
Who is God that I should obey him?
I have powerful priests and sorcerers, so I have no fear of God.
If you do not release your people, disaster will befall Egypt.
I will never let the Israelites go. You tell God so.
Not only did he refuse, he increased the burden on my people, forcing them to make bricks without being given straw. A new trial had begun, and the battle between man and the power of God had just begun.
How much longer can they endure this, Aaron? The promise feels distant.
Have faith, Moses. He has not abandoned us.
Pharaoh's heart remained hardened, refusing the Lord's command, "Let my people go." And then, God began to reveal his power through a series of terrifying plagues, each plague a warning, each miracle a judgment upon the gods of Egypt. The first plague, the river of blood. The Nile River, once the lifeblood of Egypt and the pride of its fertile land, was transformed into a river of death.
Get off the boat! Help me! Please help me!
Its waters turned into bright red blood. Fish floated lifeless upon the surface, and the stench spread across the land. Those who once bowed in worship to the river now trembled in fear before the might of the Creator.
Have mercy on your people.
The second plague, the frogs. From the depths of the river, frogs swarmed like a living flood. They leapt into houses, into beds, even into Pharaoh's ovens and kneading bowls. There was no place untouched. The life of Egypt had turned into a horror of disgust. The third plague, the gnats, and the fourth, the flies. When the dust of the earth turned into gnats, they bit people and animals alike, spreading across the cities of Egypt. Even Pharaoh's magicians cried out in fear, "This is the finger of God." But Pharaoh would not yield. Then came the swarms of flies, thick and dark as storm clouds, filling every house, covering every surface, until the land of Egypt stank and suffocated, like a vision of hell on earth. The fifth plague, the death of livestock. Horses, cattle, sheep, and camels, the wealth and strength of Egypt, fell lifeless across the land. The fields lay silent and empty, and the cries of the dying animals echoed like the lament of a nation collapsing under judgment. The sixth plague, boils on the flesh. A cloud of ashes rose from the furnace and fell upon all the land of Egypt, breaking out into painful boils on the skin of man and beast alike. From Pharaoh on his throne to the lowest slave in the fields, no one could endure the agony that covered their bodies. The seventh plague, hail from heaven. Then the Lord declared, "I will send down a hailstorm greater than any since Egypt became a nation." And the heavens opened, thunder roared, lightning tore across the sky, and hail rained down like fire from heaven. Trees splintered, crops were destroyed, and the people of Egypt trembled beneath the wrath of the Almighty.
This is my kingdom. I am the God here.
The eighth plague, the locusts. When it seemed that things could grow no worse, an east wind rose and carried with it a vast swarm of locusts, black and dense as storm clouds. They swept across the fields, devouring every green leaf that remained after the hail. No tree, no crop, no blade of grass was left, only a barren, lifeless desert stretching across the land. The ninth plague, darkness over Egypt. Then the Lord spoke again, and the light was withdrawn from Egypt. For 3 days and 3 nights, a thick darkness covered the entire nation. The Egyptians could not see one another, nor could they leave their homes. It was a silence like that of a tomb. A final warning from heaven. The 10th plague, the final judgment. Then the Lord said to me, "I will bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. After that, he will let you go. And when he does, he will drive you out completely." The 10th plague, the most dreadful, the most tragic, was the death of every firstborn in the land of Egypt. From the eldest son of Pharaoh, to the child of the lowliest servant grinding at the mill, even to the firstborn of the livestock, not a single household was spared. The sign of redemption.
Hear me, people of Israel. The Lord God has seen your suffering and commands that we move forward. We leave Egypt tonight.
That night, we ate the roasted lamb, standing ready to depart, and the blood upon our doors became the sign of salvation. When the angel of death passed through Egypt, he passed over every house marked with the lamb's blood, and the plague did not touch the people of God. The land of Egypt was filled with the sound of weeping, for there was not a single home without someone dead. In the darkness of despair, Pharaoh summoned us in the night and said,
Go find Moses. Bring him to me.
Is there something you need me for?
I agree to release those slaves. I hope you can tell God to make things right.
The Great Exodus. After 430 years of slavery, the people of Israel were finally set free. In the middle of the night, we departed. About 600,000 men on foot, not counting women, children, and livestock. The Lord had stretched out his mighty hand and delivered his people from the chains of Egypt. The pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire. God's guidance. The Lord did not lead us along the shorter route through the land of the Philistines, for he said, If my people face war, they may lose heart and return to Egypt. Instead, he led us through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. By day, the Lord went before us in a pillar of cloud to guide our path, and by night, in a pillar of fire to give us light. That light, the symbol of his presence and protection, never left us.
And witness the power of the Lord. Come with me to the Red Sea. Take those slaves.
Pharaoh's change of heart. But Pharaoh's heart turned again. Pride drove him once more to defy the Lord. He assembled 600 of his finest chariots, along with his armies, and pursued us all the way to the Red Sea. When we saw the Egyptians advancing, the people panicked and cried out in fear, Why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? Were there not enough graves in Egypt? But I said to them, Do not be afraid. Stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord. For the Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. The great miracle, the parting of the Red Sea. Then the Lord said to me, Tell the Israelites to move forward. Raise your staff, stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide the waters. I did as the Lord commanded, and the unimaginable happened. A strong east wind blew all night, and the sea divided, leaving dry ground in the midst of the deep. The people of Israel crossed through, walking between two towering walls of water, the sea standing upright, crystal clear on both sides. The fall of Pharaoh's army. The Egyptians gave chase, chariots, horses, and riders storming into the heart of the sea. But as dawn broke, the Lord looked down from the pillar of cloud and fire and threw the enemy camp into confusion. The wheels of their chariots jammed, their soldiers panicked, and they cried out, The Lord is fighting against us.
We are safe now.
Driving then, God said to me, Stretch out your hand over the sea that the waters may come back upon the Egyptian, on their chariots and on their horsemen. When I stretched out my hand, the sea returned to its original state. At daybreak, and the Egyptians were fleeing toward it. Thus God overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea that day. God saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the shore. When Israel saw the great power that God had displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord, and they believed in him and in me, his servant. Then we sang a song of praise to God, proclaiming, I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. It was a day of great deliverance and rejoicing, a testimony to the power and faithfulness of our God. We walked for 3 months and finally arrived at the wilderness of sea and camped in front of the imposing Mount Sea. It was at this magnificent place with the majestic Mount Si before us that God chose to reveal himself to his people and establish his covenant with us. God called to me from the mountain and said, Thus you shall say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, You have seen what I did to the Egyptians and how I bore you on eagles' wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words you are to speak to the Israelites. I conveyed these words to the people, and they all responded together. All that the Lord has spoken, we will do. Then God instructed me to sanctify the people for 2 days and prepare them for the third day when he would descend upon Mount C. In the sight of all the people, on the morning of the third day, there were thunder and lightning and a thick cloud on the mountain and the sound of a very loud trumpet. All the people trembled. Mount C was completely in smoke because the Lord descended upon it. In fire, the smoke ascended like smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. God called me to the top of the mountain, and there he gave me the 10 commandments written by his own finger on 2 tablets of stone. These commandments establish the fundamental principles for our relationship with God and with our neighbors. While I was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, receiving detailed instructions about the tabernacle and the laws that would govern our nation, the people grew impatient, and something terrible happened. They gathered around Aaron and said, "Come, make us gods that shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." And sadly, Aaron complied with their request. He took gold from them, melted it down, and formed a molded calf. Then they said, "This is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt." They built an altar before the calf and held a feast, offering sacrifices and indulging in idolatry. God informed me of what was happening, and his wrath burned against the people. He threatened to destroy them and make a great nation of me. But I interceded for them, pleading with God to remember his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I descended from the mountain with the 2 tablets of the testimony in my hands. When I approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, my anger burned. I threw the tablets out of my hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain. And he took the calf the people had made and burned it in the fire. Then he grounded it to powder, scattered it on the water, made the Israelites drink it that day. About 3,000 men of the people died because of their sin. It was a dark day in our history, a reminder of the human heart's tendency to stray from God. But it was also a testament to God's grace and mercy, who, despite our unfaithfulness, forgave us and renewed his covenant with us. After this terrible moment, we headed toward the promised land. We sent 12 spies, 1 from each tribe, to scout the land of Canaan. After 40 days, the spies returned. Although they acknowledged that the land flowed with milk and honey, 10 of them gave a discouraging report describing the inhabitants as giants and the cities as fortified and impregnable. Only Joshua and Caleb, full of faith, encouraged us to go up and take possession of the land, knowing that God would be with us. But the people were swayed by fear and rebelled against God. They wept all night and complained against Aaron and me, wishing they had died in Egypt or in the desert. God was angry with them and declared, "According to the number of the days in which you spied out the land, 40 days, for each day you shall bear your iniquity, 1 year, namely 40 years, and you shall know my rejection." Thus began our 40 years of wandering in the vast and arid desert of CI, a region characterized by its rugged mountains, deep valleys, and sand plains. Now, I realized that my people were not ready to enter the promised land. At that time, it was a time of trials and hardships, but also of learning and growing in our faith towards God. During these years, God provided for us miraculously when food was scarce. The people complained and longed for the food of Egypt, but God in his mercy said, "Behold, I will rain down bread from heaven for you every morning when the dew lifts. There on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance as fine as frost on the ground. It was manna, a miraculous food that God provided. Throughout our years in the desert, it tasted like wafers made with honey and sustained us day by day. God also provided meat in the form of quail. A wind from the Lord brought quail from the sea and let them fall. Around the camp, about a day's journey on each side and nearly 2 cubits above the ground. Despite God's faithful provision, our journey through the desert was marked by repeated acts of rebellion and disobedience. At Taberah, the people complained, and God sent a fire that consumed part of the camp at Kith-Hativa. They gave in to gluttony, and God struck them with a great plague. Even Aaron and Miriam spoke against me, and God struck Miriam with leprosy, though she was healed after 7 days through my intercession at Kadesh. When there was no water, the people quarreled with Aaron and me there in a moment of frustration and lack of faith. I struck the rock instead of speaking to it as God had commanded. As a result, I was denied the privilege of entering the promised land. Perhaps the darkest moment was when Korah, Daon, and Abam rebelled against the leadership God had established. The earth opened and swallowed them in their households, and a fire consumed the 250 men offering incense. Despite all these challenges, God remained faithful. He guided us with the Prazidas Edazah, pillar of cloud by day in the pillar of fire by night. He gave us water from the rock and protected us from our enemies, like when he sent fiery serpents and then provided healing through the bronze serpent. These 40 years in the desert were a time of testing and refining, but also of great growth in our relationship with God. We learned valuable lessons about obedience, faith, and dependence on our Lord. Though the journey was long and hard, God never abandoned us and fulfilled his promise to bring us to the land he had sworn to give our fathers. When the time for the 40 years of wandering in the desert was nearing completion, we arrived at Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. It was there that my beloved sister Miriam died and was buried at that place. Once again, there was no water for the congregation. The people gathered and contended with me, saying, if only we had died when our brothers fell dead before the Lord. Complained about being brought out of Egypt to this terrible place with no grain, figs, vines, pomegranates, and no water to drink. Aaron and I fell face down at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord appeared to us. The Lord spoke to me, saying, take the staff, and you and your brother Aaron gather the assembly together. Speak to that rock before their eyes, and it will pour out its water. You will bring water out of the rock for the community and their livestock to drink. So Aaron and I gathered the assembly in front of the rock, and with the staff in my hand, I said, listen, you rebels, must we bring you water out of this rock? Then I raised my arm and struck the rock twice with my staff, and water gushed out, and the community and their livestock drank. But the Lord said to me and Aaron, because you did not trust in me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this community into the land I give them. These were the waters of Meribah, where the Israelites quarreled with the Lord, and he was proved holy among them. My heart was filled with sorrow as I realized the consequences of my act of disobedience. In a moment of frustration and anger, I had struck the rock instead of speaking to it as God had commanded. I had failed to sanctify God before the people and to demonstrate full trust in his word. When we arrived in the plains of Moab by the Jordan, across from Jericho, God said to me, go up into the Abarim range to Mount Nebo in Moab, across from Jericho, and view Canaan, the land I am giving the Israelites as their own possession. There on the mountain that you have climbed, you will die and be gathered to your people just as your brother Aaron died on Mount Pre and was gathered to his people. God reminded me of my transgression at the waters of Meribah. and Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin, because we did not uphold him as holy. Among the Israelites he said, "You will see the land before you, but you will not enter the land I am giving to the people of Israel with a heavy heart, but submitted to God's will. I climbed from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisa, which is across from Jericho, and suddenly my tired eyes beheld an unparalleled beauty before me. Lay the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey, the land for which I had fought and prayed for so many years. I felt a mix of joy and sorrow. Joy, because God would fulfill his promise and bring his people to their inheritance. Sorrow, because I would not enter with them, but in the midst of it all, while I knew that God is just and merciful, it had been a privilege to be his servant, to lead his people, and to witness his mighty works. Although I would not enter the promised land, I was certain that I would enter a better land, the eternal presence of God. With peace in my heart, I looked for the last time at the land God had sworn to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob the first. Knew my time had come, and that soon I would join my ancestors. My task was complete, and it was time to pass the mantle of leadership to Joshua, whom God had chosen to lead the people into their inheritance. After gazing at the promised land from the top of Mount Nebo, I felt a profound peace fill my heart. I had completed the task God had entrusted to me, leading his people from slavery in Egypt to the threshold of their inheritance. It was in this significant place that God chose for me to take my last breath. At 120 years old, my vigor had not diminished. As the scripture says, Moses was 120 years old when he died, yet his eyes were not weak, nor his strength gone. I had experienced God's faithfulness throughout my life, from my miraculous birth to my calling at the burning bush, from the liberation of Israel to our wandering in the desert. But now my journey had come to an end there in the land of Moab. I died by the command of God. God, assisted by several angels, took the body of his faithful servant and buried it in a hidden place. God himself buried me in a valley in the land of Moab, and to this day, the exact location of my grave remains unknown. My departure left a great void in the hearts of the people. The children of Israel wept for me in the plains of Moab for 30 days until the mourning period for me was ended. I had been their leader, intercessor, and friend for 4 decades, guiding them with the wisdom and authority that God had given me, but God in his sovereignty had already prepared someone to take my place. Joshua, son of Nun, my faithful assistant, was filled with the spirit of wisdom because I had laid my hands on him. The children of Israel obeyed him and did as the Lord had commanded me. Joshua had demonstrated his faith and courage over the years, faithfully learning the lessons of leadership and dependence on God. Now, Joshua was ready to lead the people into the promised land. God himself commissioned him, saying, 1. Moses, my servant, is dead now. Therefore, arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, to the land which I am giving to them, the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon I have given you, as I said to Moses. God promised to be with Joshua as he had been with me, and exhorted him to be strong and courageous, to meditate on the book of the law, and not turn from it, so that he would prosper in all things. With this divine assurance, Joshua was ready to lead Israel to their promised destiny. As I breathed my last breath on the summit of Mount Nebo, my heart was filled with gratitude to God. It had been a privilege to be his servant, to speak with him face to face, as a man speaks with his friend. Though I had made mistakes along the way, his grace and mercy, he always sustained me. As the scripture says, no prophet has risen since in Israel like Moses, whom God knew face to face. Those words are not a testament to my greatness, but to God's goodness and faithfulness now, as my spirit ascends to be with the Lord. I know that His purpose will continue to be fulfilled through Joshua and the generations to come. Israel will enter the promised land, and one day from their seed will come the Messiah, the ultimate deliverer, who will lead us to the true heavenly promised land. If you have grasped the great message behind my story, you cannot miss the story of Abraham, a great man who, like me, had faith in God and His word and became the father of all nations. Click on the video and don't miss the great message God has for you in His story. Music